Hello. I have a story to tell you today about a robin redbreast. Now, I know you know what robins are. They're birds that are brown on their heads and backs, but their tummy and their chest here, that's red. It's kind of an orangey red. And you're hearing them right now. In the morning when you wake up, you probably hear them outside of your windows. They're in the trees around your house because spring is when they come back. They've been away for the winter. They don't like to be here in the cold weather, but they come back every spring. So, once the robins come back in the spring, you can notice all kinds of activity if you watch them closely. So, you can see a robin hopping around on your lawn sometimes. And I'm going to use my knees here because if I do it on the floor, you won't be able to see me. So I'm going to pretend this is my robin. And he'll hop on the lawn. He'll just hop, 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 hop. And he'll stop. And when he stops, he stares down at the ground because he's looking for some food. And then he hops some more. And he stops and stares, looking for some food. And he hops some more. Boom, 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 boom. And he stops. And he sees something, or maybe he hears it. I just don't know which. But whatever, he takes his pointy yellow beak and he reaches down the ground and he pulls at something and he pulls it again and he pulls it a third time and up it comes out of the ground and it's a wiggly, fat, squirmy worm. And he's very excited because that's what he loves to eat. So he swallows that and then he goes off hopping somewhere else to look for another worm. And he stops and he stares down the ground and he sees it, or maybe he hears it, I don't know which. And he pulls and he pulls and he pulls it again and it comes up out of the ground and he swallows it. So, nearby in a bush, there's another robin who's just watching. And she's busy getting ready to preen her feathers. So I don't know if you know what preening is, but preening is what birds do to take care of their feathers. They keep their feathers nice and clean. And of course, they don't have hands, so they can't like run a comb through their feathers like we would do. We would comb our feathers, right? Our hair. They don't do that, but they use their beak. So their beak is very important to them. And so first of all, you see her, she stretches up one wing, and she kind of puts it in place so that she can reach it with her beak. And then she goes down, and goes all the way to the end of the feather. And she does that on every feather on her wing. So she turns her head back here and she goes, and she's got to get the back side of her wing, so maybe she turns the wing around. And then, of course, she has to do it on her other wing. So she turns her head. And she does it on top of the wing. And she's got to get under here, so that's a little bit tough to do, isn't it? I can't quite reach my elbow. Can you? Can you reach your elbow? And then, after she does that, she's got to preen all the feathers on her back. So birds are really lucky they can turn their head further than I can turn mine. They preen all their feathers on their back and combs through all the feathers because that makes her an effective flyer and keeps her nice and clean. So, as it gets a bit warmer, the robins particularly start thinking about building nests. So the first question they have to decide upon is where they're going to build their nest. So they want to find a tree that looks good and strong, and they want to find a place where the two branches come together like that. They're going to build their nest right in there. So where two strong branches come together, that's where they're going to build their nest. And it would also be good if there was some dirt around there so that if a nice rainfall came, it would turn into some mud because that's what the birds first need. So what they'll do is they'll fly down to this puddle of mud and they'll just take one beakful of mud and they'll come up to the place where the two branches join and they'll drop the mud in there and then they use their beak again and they push it around. So they push it in here to make sure it's nice and tight in that V of branches. They push it around and if they need to get some more, they'll fly down and get another mouthful of bun and put it in here and push it in and build up the walls around it so it makes a nice little cup. So it's like a cup like that. And then they're going to go get some twigs, and they'll find them wherever. They might be able to fly right down there, but maybe they'll have to fly around and around and around and come over here to get their twigs. And they're going to fly back up, and they're going to put them inside of that mud cup because the twigs will make it strong. And then after they have a nice strong nest built, they're going to try to make it soft inside with some grasses. So they'll get grass from down the ground, or grass from your garden, or grass from wherever they can find it. Nice soft grass, and they'll put a nice layer of soft grass in there because the nest has to be very comfortable because Mother Robin is going to lay her eggs there. So, sure enough, she lays 4 blue speckled eggs into this nest. And so this nest is sitting in the tree, and the Mother Robin has laid her eggs in the nest, and so then she sits on them all day long. And she sits on them. The only time she leaves is if she has to go get some food for herself, and then the Father Robin will come and sit on the nest for a while. But she sits on them, she keeps them warm. And every now and then she turns them over, makes them get the top side comes on the bottom, and the bottom side comes up to the top. That way the eggs getting nice and warm all the way around. And she keeps doing that until one day they hatch. And now she has these little nestlings in her nest. And so now the Mother Robin has to fly out and get food for these little teeny birdies because they can't fly yet. And in fact, they hardly have any feathers on them, so they're so brand new. But they are squawking, they're going because they're hungry. So Mother Robin will stay with them, and the Father Robin will come off and bring some worms or maybe some berries, such as maybe a honeysuckle berry or mulberries or any other kind of berries or fruit that they can find. And they bring them some insects, and Father Robin will stay with them while the Mother Robin goes out and looks, and they'll feed these little fledglings. And the birds will stay in a nest for a long time, but when they get too big for that nest, they'll move down low where they can be completely hidden. So they might be on a bush on the ground, but they're completely hidden, and the Mother Robin and the Father Robin stays around to protect them. But after a while, they will be able to fly. They'll grow all their wings, and they'll start to preen them, and then they will take off flying. Excuse me. And when they can prove that they can get their own food, then they're ready to be on their own. So, I'm sorry. So, they will fly off and enjoy the summer doing what robins do, just tweeting in the trees and finding worms and finding mulberries and finding honeysuckle berries and finding insects to eat. And they'll come back in late fall because they're all going to gather again, and they're going to fly down to the south because that's where they like to be when it's cold in wintertime. And even though it can be a little bit sad to see the robins leaving, you can be sure that they'll come back next spring and they'll do the whole thing all over again. That's the story of the robins.